Namaste. My name is Amish Tripathi. I am director of the Nehru Centre, London. Thank you so much for joining this very special online program at the Nehru Centre, where we are presenting the works of Anantinee, Jhumpa, Mishra. Anantinee is a child prodigy. There's no other way to describe her. She's written over a 21,000 word anthology, a treasury of short stories. The Honorable Vice President Venkaiah Naidu ji had conferred an honorary diploma on Anantinee and in fact called her a child prodigy. She recently presented her latest book, Crossfire, to the Honorable President Draupadi Murmu ji, and she was actually conferred with a Young Achievers Award at the Gurugram Literature Festival recently. Anantinee, especially for you, right here at the Nehru Centre.
Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, and a big hello to everybody who is joining us live right here at the Nehru Centre, London. Isn't it amazing that through this digital technology, we can actually connect with people globally? It actually reminds me of the pandemic, where we met everybody online. But today, London will zoom all across to Anantinee. Let's welcome this amazing achiever. Anantinee.
Namaste.
Namaste and welcome. We're so excited to meet you. You're so young. You're so accomplished, as we just heard. And for me, I feel greatly excited because I love working with children and young minds. And one of my favorite quotes is, "Child is the father of man." So tell me, what do you feel about that?
I feel that children, in the sense, they can imbibe the youthful, particularly, they can imbibe what is fresh and modern. For example, if I were to think of the world and where it is heading now, I believe I'd have a more optimistic approach, which enables me to pull that into what I write as well. As compared to someone who has seen more of life than I have, I believe, well, some call it naive, but I personally call it a green touch. I believe it's helped me to put on a more optimistic way to what I write. For example, what I see, for me, it's straightforward without the lens of particular past experiences. So yes, perhaps that quote is true, and I'm waiting to discover it more and more.
Yes, because I personally feel, I mean, of course, the seniors, the elders have their wisdom and they have their patience, but children have the mindful approach. They forgive easily, and that's why they can actually have greater ideas, and they don't have the biases that as we grow up we develop. So I have great faith in the youngsters, and the children and the youth. So let's officially launch your book, and then we will get into the Q&A. Congratulations. How does it feel?
It feels amazing. When I first started writing, I started with a 500-word short story, which was published in Children's World, one of the prominent for children, by children magazines. And I don't think I personally ever felt that I'd ever make it this far. Now to be publishing my sixth book, two of which are translations, and my second novel, I feel that I still have a very, very long way to go, a long journey to still walk on, yet I feel extremely lucky to have been given this platform. Crossfire is so dear to me, it is so close to my heart, and seeing it on the screen, a labor, all the effort that I have put into it, all the love that I have felt for my characters while writing it, seeing in the screen, it is amazing. It's an euphoric experience for me.
Lovely. We're so happy to hear that. Now tell me, when the kids at your age have a lot to deal with, that's what I consistently hear. But I also love that creativity is at the forefront. or at least in your life? How have you managed to do that? Definitely, it has to be the support of your parents, right? Because if the parents, stick to academia, it's very difficult for creative minds to excel because our schools essentially are very left brain oriented.
Absolutely. I have been blessed enough in life, I would say, because my parents, they have always fostered my creative writing. They have never attempted to push me specifically towards something I didn't want to do. So if today I go up and say that no, I do not want to continue with creative writing for a while, then they would never tell me to pursue in it when I didn't want to do. And the same goes the other way around with academia as well. So I have been blessed enough for that. Personally, I always believe that if you're truly passionate about something, then you don't need to fit it as such in your schedule. It just
Yeah.
gets there of its own
It,
accord.
it synergizes. Yeah.
Exactly. Yet at the same time, I also understand that right now is a world full of social media, which, as much as can uplift you at times, can also pull you down. There are a lot of comments to deal with. Academics, especially today, is extremely rigorous. There are lots of entrance examinations. And in India, it's the beginning of a new foothold of academics. Yet I believe that creating writing for me has been that stress buster, if you know what I mean. When I feel exhausted from my day, this is what I turn to. It has never been a task for me in the sense that I have to complete this story today or I have to write 500 words. I don't think that is the holistic approach towards writing. It should be taken with a fresh mind and not scheduled into your timetable. It just comes of its own.
Yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. And it's just something I hope every family, every parent can understand that it's so important to really make a career out of something you truly, truly love, because it just expands your energy, like you said. And Dr. Tharoor says that, because I say, oh my goodness, like Dr. Tharoor is so accomplished, right? With all that he does politically and then writes these amazing books. So we were doing a tour with EO, and I said, how do you manage to write these books at the speed that you do with unbelievable research? And he said that I just love what I do so much that even after a hard day's work, I'm actually excited to, get on the laptop and I write. So that is so important. It's a beautiful message for parents. You talked about social media, and that's so important. Are you on social media?
Yes, I do have an Instagram account. Of course, I don't use it as much.
Yeah,
At the end of the day,
that's
you
good.
don't get so much time.
Yeah,
Yet, when I do, I make it a point to keep away from all the hashtags and posts, focus more. You'll find that these days there is an influx of accounts posting poetry and short stories on social media. These are the people who haven't, I feel, mustered up the courage yet to publish a book. Yet I read and I feel so happy that my fellow, especially my fellow literary inclined people of my age, publishing so wonderful things. I just feel happy because sometimes you feel as if creativity doesn't have a place in this world anymore. Who reads books these days? People are almost always on phones. And then at the end of the day, you see such accounts posting such beautiful things. And then you
beautiful.
feel
I
that.
totally agree. Yes, yes. I've seen you say that, and there are some poetry accounts that I love, and I'm constantly telling them, please publish. So I wanted to talk about the social media. We'll get back to that. But so, what message would you tell someone, for example, who's really talented? They've got loads of amazing work that they can write, and what is it that they would need to know? For example, if there is no publishing house that's interested in their book, what would be the next step for them?
I believe that I think one of the most constant fears, especially when you're publishing your very first novel or anthology, is that what if it's not good enough? Or what if it is good only in my mind or only in the followers that I have on my Instagram account? And that is
Yeah.
completely valid. That fear, it does exist. And about publication houses not willing to pick up new books, I believe, yes, a lot of talented people have faced that. J.K. Rowling, for example, was rejected by
Ramesh Tripathi,
12,
yes.
yes, by 12 publication houses before one agreed to publish Harry Potter. And look how far she has gone in life today. I'd like to say that if no house is willing, then absolutely you should self publish. Just because an external entity tells you that they are not willing to publish doesn't mean that your work is not good enough. In fact, I believe there is no such parameter of good enough in the first place. Whatever you write, whatever you truly put your soul, your heart into, whatever that is made of the magic that flows in our veins, absolutely it is good. There should be no parameter of an enough in it. So
That
self
is
publication
so
is the
beautiful.
answer.
That is amazing. That's such an aha moment, and I just hope that that writer out there can really understand that. Go out there and look out for your publisher for sure, but have the courage to simply go ahead, because the fear sort of paralyzes you, and it's not even the fear, it's actually what you go through, those thoughts of what if I fail, what if I fail. So now, coming back to social media, you said something that's so important and so wise, that you are on social media, so you're there to just see what's going on, to so that people can know the aha moment, and to connect with people, to see what's going out there, and most importantly have a platform. If ever you need to communicate something to your fans, but it's so important that you're not so absorbed. So social media definitely has great positives for someone like me. I started my mindfulness company, and it just completely snowballed and did really well during the pandemic, only through my videos, which was so interesting. But you're right, I don't get absorbed. I post. I love interacting. I love I wouldn't even, I never ever said follow me, but the people who interact, so I understand what a connection is. So important, right? The social connection between people. But I'm so careful who I follow, because then that controls my algorithms. And that is so important for the youth to know. Because the most important
Absolutely.
thing you give someone is your attention, and they can actually take you up, make you feel great about yourself, or sap your energy. And so you need to know, am I feeling envious here, am I feeling happy here, or am I feeling inspired here? So that is such a important lesson for the youth to know, to really be careful where social media is concerned. Anything you'd like to add to that?
Absolutely. I feel that social media is just one of those coins, one of every coin, which has two sides to it. One that takes you to unimaginable heights.
Yeah.
I published a few of my poetry in there, and the response I got, it uplifted me immensely. At the end of the day, even if we do say that self validation is the only validation you require, having someone else tell you that your work is indeed touching, that is also an extremely motivating factor. That compliment, even if it's just one at the end of the day, I don't think there is any author, any poet in this world who won't feel absolute joy when they hear such things. Yet at the same time, social media is also something that fosters a lot of envy, lot of comparison, lot of negativity, which is so harmful to us, especially to the creative people, because no two creative minds are alike. Just
And
because
also to the
someone,
youth, isn't it? I still
yeah,
feel, to the
absolutely,
youngsters, somehow at my age, I just feel, thankfully there's not been anything negative. I think I've been through so much in my life that people say, oh my god, I only want to be kind to her. But I just feel that I genuinely now have grown to understand, if someone says something unkind, it has so much to do with their journey rather than mine. So I've grown
exactly.
with that knowledge. But I think the youngsters validate and seek validation through the outside world 100%. So for them, a negative comment really shakes them. So it's so
Absolutely.
important what you said.
So teenage, it's like one of those precarious, teetering cliffs where you're going to hurtle down, or you'll just stand there feeling at the top of the world, or perhaps the highest cliff in the world. And having a negative comment in there, it really rattles you. I understand, and it's also very much understandable. Even publishing on social media, be it an anonymous account, no one knows how you look like or your name, but still publication, any sort of publication on social media, on paper, it takes a lot of courage. One unkind moment, one thoughtless comment, and just drains a lot of energy. Yet at the same time, it is also valuable life lessons we earn through these. It is through these multitudes of comments that makes a person stronger and understand, as you said, that's about their journey, their
It's
development
about
rather
their
than ours.
journey. And a lot of youngsters are joining us live, or perhaps they see this. There was a very beautiful talk that I attended. It was with Wayne Dyer, late Wayne Dyer, and he walked on stage with an orange. And this is really important for the youth to understand and give themselves solace when someone says something unkind. So he walked on stage with an orange and he says, I cut this orange, what are you going to get? So everybody said, orange juice. He said, no, pineapple juice, right? Or, tomato juice, right? Apple juice. And they said, no, orange juice. He said, why? He said, because there's orange inside. And he said, that's all there is to life. So when you really cause a trigger, or you trouble someone, or you cause a reaction, and when they express themselves, is because what's within. So a happy person or a positive person will always express that. And if someone is really expressing pain or causing you pain, is because they are in pain. So that sort of brings solace, and I use that a lot to tell youngsters, and so important, especially when y'all are creative and y'all are on this journey. So now let's talk about Crossfire, right? Your book Crossfire deals with a story of self-discovery, and it's about storms that rage within us. At such a young age, how do you conceptualize these kind of philosophical ideas, the rage within
I
us?
was, from a very young age, I believe reading has been my one getaway to fantasy, epic fantasies, clashing dragons, high hordes, streams of rivers, the phlegethon of Tartarus. And such reading, that is what has always, it's like contrived me to express these ideas in my writing. For Crossfire, I was extremely influenced and inspired by V.S. Naipaul's writing in particular. Some of his early novels, if you've heard of them, some of his articles, they describe that sense of alienation that people who were a part of the indentured laborers system underwent. A small part of my history curriculum of class 10 also encapsulates that. I was extremely inspired to pick up that topic and start reading. And the more I read, the more I felt that the pain they experience, the feeling of not knowing where you belong to this country, which is technically a part of your ancestral land, or to that where you've taken birth, your parents who are a part of a slave labor, a crude slave labor system, such a cruel representation, and that sense of alienation. I felt that I had to get that on paper. Personally, I have been a great fan of grey characters, and my protagonist, Maris, she's one of them. She's one of those children who was born to this system. Her, she was someone who didn't choose to be a part of this either. It was just that she was born to it, and that sense of identity loss. She's carried that with her throughout her life. It has filled her with anger, justifiable anger, yet anger, hatred, bitterness, envy, that is so harmful to carry yourself within, especially for as long as she has. She has some tough decisions that she's forced to make across the course of the novel, how she grapples with her morality, her decisions, as well as ultimately the balance between what is right and what is easy. I think that's what Crossfire is all about.
Yeah. And is it true that writers, especially with themes like this, it's a must that you must learn everything about psychology? Because it's just one line that you said, that, oh my god, to carry that kind of guilt and shame for such a long time is a tiring process. And interestingly, human species do that the best. They do it all along. So So, did you read a lot about psychology as well?
Yes, I actually had to read about whether it truly happens that guilt is something that if it festers inside you for too long, it grows in multitudes. Does that actually happen? Or do people, lucky people, I would say, gently forget about it across the course of time? It becomes a wound that just lightly stings but doesn't burn anymore. From the weight of the mountains that they carry on the back, that they were just simply supposed to walk across rather than carry them. But yes, it indeed happened, particularly people who've had their freedom taken from them. They do carry this guilt and shame and anger within them, and it just grows into platitudes by the time they grow up. This is what they think humans are made of. And that is what I actually wanted to put, that struggle of seeing other people happy, vicarious, living their lives, and wondering, why am I not being able to do that? Psychology has absolutely a lot of to do with it. I actually had to read, does that
Yeah.
happen in people, or is it fictionalized and dramatized across all these contemporary drama novels? Yes, it happens. In fact, a lot of people are victims to that.
Absolutely. And guilt and shame. So, did you come across Brené Brown, who is sort of the biggest professor for guilt and shame? And she said, every human being, and it's so interesting, I'm digressing because I never knew we'd be talking about guilt and shame with such depth. They said that there's not a single human being who is living without guilt or shame, some amount of guilt and shame. And that totally shocked me. I said, this is what research says. And it goes back to childhood, because you look at when a little one makes a mistake in a class. I mean, now I still haven't really understood how the education system in India is sort of on a day-to-day basis. But when I was in school, when you did a mistake, you were always asked to go out and stand with your hands up, or right, children were always asked to do something that would make them feel ashamed, or a line like "shame on you" was something that was used so easily and liberally. And it sort of comes from there. Or for that matter, when we have someone even commits a crime, or falls in love with someone they're not fallen they shouldn't fall in love with, or robs money, what is it that we instantly as a human species want to do? Cause them guilt and cause them shame them, attack them. It's never about how can I rescue them, rehabilitate them, so that why are we creating these kind of criminals, and why are we creating sad children, naughty children? Can we do something as a society to help that not happen? Isn't that so unique, Ananthony?
Absolutely. I think one of the novels that just opened this door for me was The Kite Runner. I'm sure you've heard of it already.
Oh my
And
god, yes.
the guilt that is just etched throughout the pages of the book, the guilt that a little boy of 6 and 7 is carrying in
Yeah,
his heart.
carries.
Some may argue it is deserved guilt, yet it is such a burden to bear. And those little shoulders doing that and carrying, and no wonder that people struggle with morality and with what decisions to make. They've never seen the sunny side of life. So I think it just opened that world for me to explore with Maris, and I've absolutely loved etching her on paper. She's not what one would call a quintessential heroine. She's not self-sacrificing. In
I
fact,
love
I'd say
that.
she's
Yeah,
selfish, but she's real. She's what humans are
real.
made of.
Yeah.
Her actions are gritty yet realistic, and that is what I wanted to portray. Not someone out of a fairy tale, because fairy tales, as good as they look on paper, most people don't get to experience that. So, that
That's true.
realness of her, that is my favorite characteristic about her.
Yeah, and you said that so well, that fairy tales don't exist. I was very careful before we started live. I was talking about my daughter, and I was very careful about the books I was reading to her. So I'd read really interesting books like "You Are Awesome" and "Psychology of Happiness," but like real books, how to combat failure, how to reject rejection, all of those kind of lovely life skills. Uh, because when we look at even a simple fairy tale like Cinderella, it actually is filled with so many loopholes, isn't it? It's
Absolutely. The
it's
fact that She
That the
has to
stepmother
live
has
in,
to be bad, that
yeah,
that you need the prince to empower yourself,
absolutely.
and you
And
need to
most
be rich and
people,
cool to be seen.
exactly. And most people don't get the Prince Charming for them. They have to combat and fight and
You
climb
know,
out of that
yeah,
sinkhole themselves.
yeah, I'm loving this conversation. And also that you have to look a certain way, because you see, it feeds into the advertisements, right? The advertisements want the pretty girl, which actually does not exist. And in the Yale University, I'm doing a course with Yale University on the psychology of happiness that actually tells you a good marriage doesn't make you happy, a good job doesn't make you happy. Everything that actually the world, the society, the advertisements have told you, a good home, this penthouse, nothing makes you happy. What actually makes you happy is savoring this moment, which children and youngsters do, and then adults teach them, no, don't do that, go for that dream job. So I'm loving this character, and I hope this is going to also give insights to the youth and everybody else who's listening, that hey, we need to combat guilt and shame. We need to handle it, take it out of our system, and not cause that to anyone. It's so easy, right? We do that to people time and time again. Ananthony, let's talk about the structure of your book, right? There's a before and after, and so take us through that. How for a writer who's writing, how do you structure it?
I have, prior to Crossfire, I have always been more plot driven than character driven. I believe that if a plot is iron strong, then the characters are formed by themselves. However, Crossfire is my first foray into the character driven novels. Rather than the action or the thriller, what is prominent here is the drama, is the life struggles that she's facing. So for me, for the first time, rather than creating a plot that this will happen, followed by this, and this is how it's all going to come together in the end, I created Maris first, who was a novel character for me, and then I etched around her the story. So essentially, Crossfire, it is the crossfire of her life. I had to create her character from the start because I wanted to give her that authenticity of a real character. I etched her backstory and centered the plot around her. It took me quite some time. I didn't want her to make so realistic that it almost feels unrealistic.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted her to have some genuine moments so that it could contrast that few moments of happiness and how it again seems to be shrouded by darkness. You know that little gasp of air when you get when you're drowning, it's
Yeah.
almost as painful as drowning in itself. That is what I wanted to show. So my central character, all the characters, I have quite a few of side my characters as well. They're all built around her. She shares some of the qualities with them. She's had strong figures influencing her whole life. And she believes there's been enough of that. She wants to take back control. So I think this was an extremely character driven novel centered around her, a female centric character, which I personally love to read about. So that was the structure. It took me quite some time. I finished the manuscript, the first manuscript of this novel, almost a year ago, I would say, followed by which
And
there was
how
the
long did it
pandemic.
how long did it take for the first manuscript?
I believe it took me almost 6 months to write it all down, and perhaps a month of research, which went prior to that. And there was the pandemic, so of course, publication was a long, drawn out, extended process. Fortunately, I had my parents to navigate the crisscross waters of first novel publication as they have been doing since I was in grade 8, which was when I published my first book, Treasure of Short Stories, which is a collection of short stories. And Crossfire, what was a unique experience for me was the amount of research that went. If you'd read, what you'd notice is that this book, it doesn't have a particular setting. I have deliberately refrained from naming a particular place because that is what I
Oh,
wanted to show, that it can take place anywhere in any country. In fact, most of the countries, there are people, these groups who are always being marginalized and kept away from society. So it's deliberate an attempt to not show that it takes place only in a specific country, rather to show that it can happen anywhere.
That's lovely. That's wonderful. And was it inspired by somebody you knew? Was it inspired by something you'd gone through? How did you
Uh,
envision this character?
as I said, I read across the accounts of people who've been subjected to this inhumane system that was
Yeah.
abolished. Yes, it was abolished almost a century ago. Yet the
Yeah.
after effects, the aftershocks, it just keep felling. I personally, I believe I have lived an extremely sheltered life, so I could not relate with all the struggles that Maris has gone through. That
Yeah.
was a bit of, I had to navigate, put my mind, and use my imagination to capture what she must be feeling because I have never felt it myself. Yet, the strength of her character, I believe every woman out there who is trying to live her dreams, who is combating with the society, who is juggling her home and her work and her dream, her passion, what she's supposed to do versus what she wants to do, every single one of them contributes something to strength that Maris has. So I believe all of them are my inspiration.
Yeah. And Maris has a heartbreaking affair. And
Yes, she
tell
does.
us tell us about the complexities of that. And
Yes.
why did you think there needs to be an affair? Because I love reading about novels with depth, which also have a bit of romance, right? David Lean, the great filmmaker, who said, make anything, but definitely have a love story in it.
Story in it. I believe love stories just amp up that tragic factor.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And Maris in particular, it's more subtle, I would say, rather than extremely in your face. How she feels herself to be incapable, unworthy of love, yet she manages to extend that selfless love to another being. It tells us that it's in her mind. If she's capable of loving someone, then why not capable of loving her own self? I'd call it
Herself.
hard. I'd call it heartbreaking because she never got to experience that sunny side of love, that love of rainbows and rain and all the beauty that comes with love. For her, love was at a pedestal with sacrifice, which is what she ultimately strives to do. I believe that's why it was heartbreaking, yet it was that very relationship which taught her in the end what matters is what matters. And those relationships, I believe, till the very end, I think it was one of the most precious relationships of her life, which is what I wanted to show across the novel.
And I loved what you said, that love, which is supposed to be rainbows and sunny side. Yeah, is that what you think, Ananthony?
I
That love
believe
is
that is I believe that is what all of us have been led to believe, that love is something while it is there, it
fabulous.
conquers all.
Everybody who's listening to Ananthony, this needs a huge round of applause. That's true. That is the truth, because that's what psychology says. We've been led to believe, because you can have those amazing rainbows and those sunny days all alone in your mind with your true soulmate, the person in the mirror. Continue. That was great. Yes.
Absolutely. I believe that is what we've been led to believe,
Led to
that
believe.
love is all that is sunny skies and rainbows, yet love is also something that requires effort.
Yeah.
Love, for you to love others, what is most important is to love your own self. Since when has the love of others been an expression of self validation? It should never be, which is what she was trying to do across the course of the novel. And in the end, when she realizes that's the wrong thing to do, that realization, that moment when she achieves Maslow's last rung of hierarchy of self needs, that is, for me, that's the most beautiful moment when she realizes that the most important kind of love is the one she should have for her own self. Love, it is gritty, it is real, it requires sacrifices, hard work, and efforts. It is not just that simply because love is there, happy endings are bound to turn out. Sometimes it is beautiful, it leaves you with beautiful memories, but not necessarily a happy ending. And that is all right, that's an experience of life.
That's an experience of life. Wow. Wow. So I think this book is so deeply mindful and filled with self help tools as well, isn't it? I feel that. Do you think that came naturally, Or that no, you did say that I hope people will find a whole lot of anchors when they read this book.
I hope that people will know that it's just not them, but others who are struggling to the same thing. And if they can pull themselves, then so can you. I believe that journey from where she's at rock bottom to when she's finally free, when she finally experiences liberty, that journey, was trying to illustrate that journey. And ultimately, when she did get what she wanted to, it basically shows that nothing lasts forever. It pours, it never rains, right? So that is,
Yeah.
if people find self-help in that, of course I'd love if they're able to find that in my book.
Isn't it? Yeah, I think so. With especially when I'm hearing you, I feel that they will. Tell me the toughest part about writing the book, or probably releasing, publishing, when you just go through that entire gamut of different experiences, that journey from starting on a blank paper to writing. What is the most challenging part?
I believe that when you're writing, you are in a flow of sorts. It comes down to you, right? Sometimes you jump from one scene to another. Okay, I'm on chapter 8, but I want to write a scene of chapter 12 first. And once the process is over, it's when the manuscript is sent, and then you reflect, you introspect upon what you wrote. And then the edited version comes, and then you have to see what to cut out, what to remain. I believe for me that was the hard part, because then you have to see, okay, does this really need to be there? So that introspection which comes after you've written the book, after that flow is over, after that adrenaline rush ends, that's the hard part when you're coming down from the creative. It just leaves you feeling a little empty, particularly after you've given so much for so long of yourself to a book, and then it's all done, it's over, and suddenly you don't have Crossfire to occupy a little bit of your time on most days. I think that's the hard part of me writing. Publication, of course, I'm I will happily admit that I left the entire publication process to my parents to navigate. They just told me we're going to publish it with them. I said, all right, I'll leave it to you guys. For me, all I did was write. So I was lucky enough in that sense, but I believe that those few days after you just finished writing, they are the hard part, not writing in itself. Once you get deep into it, then you're just flowing.
Yeah. And maybe I missed the part. How old is Maris in the book?
Sorry?
What's her age in the book?
I have deliberately, as I said, I've kept
You
a lot of important
kept that
details,
blurred.
kept
Ah,
that blurred. I was trying to go more into deeper sides and leaving the obvious things out. Where does she
obvious
live?
thing. Yeah.
What is her age? Because I believe it is irrelevant to the story. It can be experienced by anyone, anywhere, which is what I was
The
trying
way
to
they like.
show at the start. So the more obvious details have been left up to the reader to decide. What do you think? How old should have been? But all I will say is, from a very young age, she's been carrying this burden. So it may seem like she's extremely old. She has all the pessimism of someone who's lived through wars and wars, but she's actually pretty young.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm getting that feeling too. I'm getting that
Yes.
feeling. Your favorite novels of other writers? Which novels do
That
you
is
really
for
difficult
someone
with?
who's a reader, that is an extremely tricky question, because one moment you're in love with this novel, and the moment you come across that,
I'll
and
make
you're
it
like, oh,
easy. I'll make it easy.
okay.
Right? I'm like, the pictures come to my mind. So, on a happy day, a book that instantly comes to your mind.
On a
And a
happy
happy
day, on a
sunny day
happy
with
day,
a rain.
I am Enid Blyton. Day by day, I'm Enid
I
Blyton
love
on
it
a
too.
happy
I love
day.
it too. Uh,
Absolutely.
During the pandemic, when people were going through severe lows, a lot of inner reflection, a book that comes to your mind.
During self-respection was going on, I definitely say John Green, particularly his novels, as sad and tear-inducing as they are, they're also a journey of people who are combating with the worst possible scenarios in life. And this is what people were doing. They were combating with what everyone felt was a limited existence. So I believe John Green through and through for a pandemic mode.
Oh, I haven't read much of John Green. In my mind, Oscar Wilde comes to my mind.
Oscar Wilde. For me,
Okay.
Oscar Wilde
Uh,
is essentially associated with the picture of Dorian Gray, which is something you want to read about when you just feel like
Same here.
loathing.
Me too. High five. High five across the screen. Oh my goodness, the picture of Dorian. And and viewers, this is so natural. We did not even think that we would talk about the picture of Dorian Gray. And did you get the same message? Because my late father would always tell me, forget about how your face is. Always care about your inner thoughts because they will reflect on your
Absolutely.
face as you grow
I
older.
just love the way
I
he
love
uses
picture of Dorian
physical
Gray.
deformity to show the inner evil within. I think it's a similar thing is seen in A Train to Pakistan by Khushwant Singh. So basically, what they're trying to show is that in the pursuit of external beauty, we just let that internal side just get neglected for so long, and ultimately, it shows on our physical side as well. No amount of magical portrait can keep that
All
off.
that's so true. That is so true. And this is so deep. And this is so meant for the youth, and this is so meant for people of my age, and so meant for Bollywood, because Bollywood is so taken in by straightening their face, ironing their face, and they all are. You're so evolved instantly. आपको तो हंसी आती होगी कैसे everybody is looking like. Okay, we'll talk about the question. Haven't you seen Anantinee? If you see actors, entrepreneurs in Bombay, and they have that huge trapping. And because I've shifted here, it's more easy for me to now observe them like a painting. And it's interesting, everybody's eyebrows are lifted, everybody's cheeks are lifted because they don't want this line, they don't want this line, they don't want this line. And it reminds me of the 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 story you and me are talking about, the picture of Dorian Gray, that they have completely let go of evolving, and totally the evil within is growing, and they're thinking, no, I can.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, I just feel sorry, really, because perhaps the pinnacle of life is the beauty within. And when you are beautiful and happy on the inside, then that glow that mists your skin, which is unlike any cosmetic or any surgery can ever get you. So I believe that glow is what makes you beautiful, what makes a person beautiful. Not pretty, but beautiful.
So true. Oscar Wilde. This was the highest point of the interview, where you were talking about Oscar Wilde and how you have actually integrated it into. And so Maris is an amazing positive character who will now move through a journey and learn all of this, right?
Exactly. So it is her journey.
Tell me, are you looking at creating your books into short stories for TV, for movies? Because do you think that's a huge market and it's important? Because from what you're telling me, I mean, I also hope that tomorrow you'll write a self help book or a book on life skills or a book for children. I would love it because you must do that. It's so important. And it also validates the amazing work that you're doing, that, hey, my essentially, I want you to lead better lives. Uh, so do you see that happening?
Movies, I believe that I may be a little too young for that to even think of such a grand scale. For me, the fact that my books are getting published in the first place and people want to ask me about Crossfire, that is the biggest achievement I could ever dream of at this moment. But I believe if I do write something like The Namesake or Jhumpa, which is one of the first indigenous books to be recreated into a movie, definitely, because something on the big screen or even on the smaller screens,
Yeah, and
seeing
today the gap
something
is totally gone, isn't it? And Anthony,
absolutely
like a Netflix show. Like, I don't see movies in theaters anymore because of having a 7-year old. So all my evenings are dedicated to reading with her. We do a lot of reading, right? In England, it's all about can you read? And then Saturdays, maybe we'll see a film together, and then it's mostly uh,
OTT.
Sound of Music. Or now
I
that's
know.
got so
Sound
you
of Music.
I think you must take that seriously, and your parents are with you, and they must plan this, that you must make short stories on TV, and the OTT platform.
I
So
will
so tell
convey.
me.
I'll pass on the message.
Yes, indeed you must. So now you're in grade 10th, which is SSC HSC in India, isn't it?
I'm now in grade 11, still awaiting my grade 10
Okay.
board exam results.
Oh, the board
So
exams.
now
I remember that was huge. That is so important.
huge.
It's such a milestone,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
It is an event of life, not just of your life, but of people
I
surrounding you as well. It's just your breaths are, being held in anticipation of what it will fetch.
And it's usually quite easy. I found my ninth grade much more tougher.
Absolutely. I believe ninth and 11th grades are a little tougher than 10th and 12th,
Oh,
and
is
both
it?
are infinitely easier than the real
Tenth,
school
I remember.
exams. So I think the hype is that the people who are checking, you don't know who's checking your papers, so that's part of the hype.
Yeah, and where you're going for your exam, and then suddenly you've got to write it a particular way. Why did you put your name? And you're like really extremely nervous
Yes.
about everything. Oh, that is really helping me revive memories of my childhood. Tell me, how can people buy your books?
Okay, my books, I'm going to do a bit of promotion in here now because
Right now,
ultimately
it's all up to you. Now we are ending the show, and before that, we just want to know, how can we follow you? How can we buy your books? How can we help promote your books? So hashtags and everything are important so that we go ahead and spread the word.
My books are available on e-portals such as Amazon, Flipkart, all the e-commerce websites. They're also available in prominent bookstores such as in India in the Bahari Sen's book, Crossford, Oxford Library, Oxford Books. They're available across bookstores. It's now officially in the market, ready to purchase and all yours to read. Maris and Crossfire, it is now yours to read and think of a journey and maybe keep a little part, a small fragment of your heart reserved for her, for all that she's lived through. And about where you can reach me, I have official Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts, mostly managed by my parents, yet accessible all the same. You can simply type Anantinee Jhumpa Mishra and you can come across my account on either of these platforms. About promotion, I have always been one of those people who would fantasize that books being picked up by book clubs and then word spreading around like that. I am more of an old school person there.
Yeah, and
Yet
it's
I
word of
believe that
mouth. Yes.
absolutely. Yet I believe that the hashtag Crossfire or Anantinee Mishra, they on social media, they can directly connect me with whoever wants to read about my book or talk about my book. I believe the most glorious thing for any author is when people want to talk about your book. Oh, why did she do that? Why did she do this? Why did she not do this? If someone comes to me and tells me, oh, your book was great, I will be happy. But when someone tells me, oh, but why did you write this like that and not like that? That is when I'll be ecstatic because it means someone has truly,
Really,
truly
yeah, gotten
accepted the
immersed.
thought that I've put into it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And are there any book tours that you are going to be a part of?
Book tours, I
or
believe that
or
right
book tours that
now,
you would like to be a part of? So either way, so that we plug in and then we ask those people that they can reach you.
absolutely. I think I'm a little behind on the exact details, but I will be doing book signings and across all the prominent bookstores in Delhi in the upcoming few weeks, in Bahari Sons of the Saket, of Connaught Place, and Oxford and Crossford. Of course, all the official schedule you can get at the website of my publishers, which is Garuda Publications, as well as via social media platforms. So if you do follow me there, then you can always get an update on which bookstore I'm doing a book signing, usually on the weekends.
Amazing. And there were many
I'm
questions. Yes.
I'm also visiting London on during May. It's a part of an extended Europe holiday. I will also be meeting
Excellent.
Amish Sir in Nehru Center. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Amazing. So that's brilliant. Well, we'll end with the last question, and we'll take a question from the audience. Somebody said, please tell us about your name, Jhumpa. And is that your nickname? Is it a middle name? Is it your mom's name?
My name is Anantinee Mishra. That is the name which is there in all of my official records. Jhumpa is my nickname. Actually, my great grandmother, she was extremely fond of Jhumpa Lahiri's novels and said that whoever is born to my mother, she said, he should be named Jhumpa, and here I am, possibly
Wow.
an incarnate of this. So Jhumpa is a nickname. I use it for writing because I believe that has been my destiny all along, ever since I was non-existent in the first place. Believe.
Oh no. I think we've
Yeah, can you
lost.
see
Oh,
me?
here you are. Well done. Sorry, we've lost you for a moment. Yes, please continue.
So Jhumpa is technically my pet name, which I use while writing, while publishing any book or article. I sign it off as Anantinee Jhumpa Mishra. It's not essentially my middle name, but it's a pet name.
Lovely. And as you already know so much about mind power and mindfulness, you know that a name actually has its own energy, its own vibration. And so, may you harness all the magic of Jhumpa Larry as well. So I wish you all the best, Ananthony. Any closing remarks, anything that you'd like your fans to
I
know
would like
before
to.
we.
I would absolutely like to thank you for sparing your valuable time for
Oh,
me,
it's it's an
as
honor and a pleasure.
well as Nehru Center for giving me this platform in the first place. I couldn't have imagined a better launch for Crossfire. To all the viewers who took out their time to listen to me babble on and on about this or that, I would like to thank all of you as well. It is your feedback which matters to me. Tell me what you thought about the book, my book, and I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you. It's now in the markets and it is yours to read, to cherish, to debate, and to tell me all about. It is now officially yours.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Ananthony.
Thank
Here's
you.
wishing
Thank
you
you.
a world of
Thank you so
success.
much.
Thank you to Vinitji,
Thank
who
you.
handles everything digitally with clockwork precision and such smoothness, isn't it? Thank you to the
Absolutely.
entire team at Nehru Center, Amish Tripathi, and our wonderful staff at London. This is Raageshwari. I'm signing off. Namaste. Assalamu alaikum. Take care.